Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome at Polish Daily News representatives of Mainstreet Organization of REALTORS. Its CEO, Mr. John Gormley. John, thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure.
And Kinga Korpacz. You very well know Kinga as the president of Exit Realty Redefined. Today, she's representing Mainstreet Organization of REALTORS as a treasurer, and she is the future president of this organization. Kinga, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
We are at a pivotal time for all home buyers, sellers, and for the realtors, all because of the recent settlement of nationally recognized lawsuit. The settlement ended up with $418 million as a settlement amount, but there are changes coming to the market. John, could you talk about the significance of that settlement?
Yes, the changes are coming, and the proposed settlement, which was made in mid-March by the National Association of Realtors to the plaintiffs' attorneys, has received preliminary approval. And the main thing from the settlement is the offer of compensation in real estate transactions from buyers and sellers to their realtors will no longer be contained within the MLS, the multiple listing service. It will be done outside of the MLS, which would require more conversations and earlier conversations between realtors and consumers. Overall, we think it's good for consumer transparency, and it's good for realtors as well, because those conversations will be made earlier than they have before in the transactions of Kinga represents you. What does that mean? And then how much will she be paid in the end once the transaction's complete?
So the fees will be coming, as it was right now, out of the seller's pocket or the buyer's pocket. What will change technically? If I'm selling or if I'm buying, who will be covering those fees?
Well, it still could and probably will still be negotiated agreements, right? So the seller side could choose to help create incentives for the buyer side, or failing that, the buyer will negotiate with their realtor on what that compensation will look like. So it could and probably will still come from the seller side, but it's always negotiable, and it will just be an agreement between the buyer's agent or the realtor on the buyer side with their buying consumer.
And the key word here is transparency. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yes. So that everyone knows early on what to expect, what will be done on the consumer's behalf, who gets paid and when.
Yeah. John, you said that the settlement was reached in March, is in a preliminary stage. When do you think those changes will go into effect?
Well, the earliest changes should be in mid-July, and there will continue to be changes for the rest of this year and into next year. For example, in the Illinois legislature, there's proposed legislation to make buyer representation agreements mandatory within state law. We also think that is a really good step for consumer transparency and for the realtor community.
Yeah, so you expect that those rules and regulations will vary state by state. It's not going to be a national policy. It will be regulated on state level.
That is correct. There are about a dozen states that already have this type of law in effect, mandatory buyer agent agreements. Illinois will be one of the next, certainly, assuming that it passes. But Illinois Realtors, which we're a part of as well at Mainstreet, which is our statewide trade association, is supporting this proposed legislation.
What should the potential owners and buyers do right now in anticipation? Should we wait, or should we continue with the process that we're already thinking?
Well, I think having those conversations, right, for transparency. Kinga is a great example of a business owner and someone who does it right. She brings in the top trainers from around the country into her real estate business for her agents. And she is a shining example of the way to do it is to start preparing now, not to wait, but start having those conversations and what might it look like.
I think I'm correct saying that Mainstreet Organization is on the vanguard of educating other realtors, relaying those information and getting them prepared. Kinga,
Absolutely.
Where are we right now in this process? How much do the average realtor in Illinois know about the upcoming changes?
So I'm assuming and I'm hoping that every single agent or real estate agent, licensed agent knows about this lawsuit. Our office was well prepared for the past 2-3 years. We knew about it. We were preparing for it. So we were very well aware of it. Hopefully a lot more agents will be aware and will be able to get the education. Mainstreet absolutely have a lot of different educations. We have also ABR courses, which is accredited buyer representative courses. It's actually now through NAR, it's free for the agents. So we're absolutely doing, and I think, a fantastic job spreading the word and teaching all our agents about this lawsuit and what they can do to prepare.
So transparency is definitely good. What are the things related to those changes will impact home buyers and sellers? Is it a good change or a bad change?
I think it's good, right? I mean, evolution is necessary and inevitable. And as Kinga said, we've been preparing for the changes, kind of getting ahead of that. And so one of the biggest things is just, as we said earlier, having conversations earlier about representation, what it means, and who will be paid and when, but also in the forms and contracts that are used in real estate transactions. At Mainstreet, we own our own forms and contracts, which are licensed for the use of our members. And we have been working on that already for the last year and a half through our broker lawyer committee. Those forms and contracts and addenda are being changed in order to help jumpstart those conversations with the consumers and with their realtors.
So you will be ready, no question about that.
We'll be ready.
We are almost ready, and we will be ready. So that's why I'm very proud to be Mainstreet member and get all the education. And what John is saying as well. So right now, when you were working with a buyer, you could just go and show a home. You would have gotten paid by the seller. When the changes comes, we would have to have a buyer's agreement with the buyer. So the buyer will have to know who's paying. So if the seller will not pay us, the buyer will have to pay for it. However, we can always, through a buyer's agreement, ask the seller to compensate us. So it's all, like John mentioned before, we can all negotiate this, and it will be best for the buyer to help us help them. To do that.
When I was looking at the situation some time ago, my initial recollection thought was that it's a good thing for humongous, these behemoth real estate companies that have thousands of agents and they can offer super small commissions. It's bad for small independents, brokers and agents. Is that true, that the competitive advantage will shift towards these huge companies?
You know, that remains to be seen. I think good realtors like Kinga and her company will always do well.
Yeah.
Because again, they know what's going on, they're well trained, and they know what's best for their clients. So I think it's good for everyone in the long run. Okay. And good realtors exist at all size companies.
Well, that's so true, because I wouldn't expect any realtor know me as good as somebody who is part of my community for a number of years, who I worked before, who worked with my family, and is willing to spend this extra time with me and go the extra mile. So yeah, it could be cheaper by a fraction of a percent, but am I gonna get the same quality approach?
Don't we pay by experience? You want the best one. If you go to a doctor, you want the best doctor with best experience. You will pay him all the money you could just to help you get better. Same thing with a real estate agent. If you have a professional, knowledgeable agent that is willing to go above and beyond and have all the experience in the world, you will pay what the agent is worth. So I personally don't believe that this change will affect me or my office. It's just a little bit shift of how we're going to do the business and make sure the buyers and seller understand who gets paid and when they're going to get paid and how much. But it's also, like John mentioned, it's all negotiable.
Yeah. John, you mentioned before the MLS. What exactly is the MLS?
Well, the MLS stands for Multiple Listing Service, and there are more than 500 across the country. They are regionalized databases of property information, property for sale and properties that have been sold.
Okay.
So historically, the MLS subscribers, which are realtors, use it as a tool in the marketplace to help consumers who are interested in buying or selling real estate.
So does anything change in relation to MLS when the new regulations will come in place? Specifically, the access to MLS. I think that will be slightly different.
Yes, that's a great question, and certainly the MLS will change because it's already been not preordained, but it's part of the proposed settlement that the MLS would change. And some of the main things that were the unilateral offer of compensation between buyer and seller real estate brokers will no longer be offered through the MLS. The database of available properties for sale will remain, but the unilateral offer of compensation will be removed from the MLS, and that will happen outside of the MLS between agents.
Awesome. So a lot will change, but I have a feeling that not a lot will change because we're still going to be in good hands. And Kinga, as you said, once you select the realtor that you really trust, that you really like, that you have the mutual connection with, you will be in good hands. Granted that realtor will do the work, Kinga, as you and your realtors do and are ready.
Correct. You always have to go above and beyond. And obviously everyone is afraid of lawsuits. Everyone is afraid of changes. But again, we don't know, I believe, personally, that the changes are good for us, like John said as well. So it's just making the change and making the switch and just moving forward and still representing buyers and sellers. And sure everyone is happy at the end.
Let's talk about Mainstreet Organization of REALTORS for a moment. What exactly is that organization?
My favorite topic. The Mainstreet Organization of REALTORS is a professional membership association of realtors and others involved in the real estate business in the Chicagoland area. Our territory is roughly 20 miles west of downtown Chicago, but it's a vast territory out in the western suburbs of Chicago. We start in the north. Our northern boundary starts literally at the Wisconsin border and then comes south just about roughly 20 miles outside of Chicago, all the way down to the Indiana border. So it's one of the largest, you already mentioned, the seventh largest in the United States. That's 7th out of 1,100 realtor associations in the United States. We're very proud of that. But although we're one of the largest and the largest in Illinois, we pride ourselves on being a very welcoming, inclusive community. Everyone is welcome. Everyone who wants to succeed in real estate and learn and grow and network with each other, meet great leaders like Kinga here, is welcome to be part of our Mainstreet family.
We call it our extended family. So it is a realtor extended family. That's what I feel as well. That's what our agents feel in the office, and most of the people that are involved that are well aware of Mainstreet feel that this is an extended family.
And you educate, you provide a platform to network, but you also lobby. And I know that you fairly recently visited Washington. You've met with several lawmakers. How was that visit?
It was great. We were in Washington, D.C. for the annual National Association of Realtors legislative meetings. Kinga had a prominent leadership role. She is a federal political coordinator for a member of Congress and had a meeting with the member of Congress and talked about our national or federal legislative platform. And she's well respected there as well. Can you talk about your relationship with the congressman?
Yeah.
Sure. So I do represent Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy and District 8. We have a great relationship. He does listen to our issues, any real estate issues, and he's very supportive. Since February, even until today, he co-sponsored 3 of the House bills. So yes, I am very proud of the relationship with him and his support and real estate community, not only that, and also in the Polish community.
Wonderful.
And what we're trying to do there is we're trying to make housing more fair and more affordable, both across the country and here in the Chicago suburbs. And it's the same type of platform we have in Springfield, Illinois. We were in Washington just this month in May with Kinga's leadership there on Capitol Hill. But last month in April, we were down in Springfield, also meeting with state legislators around how do we create more housing inventory? How do we create incentive for builders to develop more housing? How do we make it more fair and affordable for everyone? And in Illinois, we're always, in Chicagoland, we're trying to strike that perfect balance between affordability and quality of life.
Yes.
And we have a wonderful quality of life here in Chicagoland.
Yeah, and affordability is becoming a key, especially for the young people. cost of real estate is prohibitive in a lot of cases for them to buy their first place and start a family, plant a root somewhere. So happy to hear that this is at the forefront of your actions.
This is for advocacy, correct? So this is what we're finding, because a lot of those members of Congress have no idea. I mean, they have so many bills, they don't really read all the bills.
Yeah.
So make sure, because we are, the ones that are working with our buyers and sellers, so we have to bring the knowledge back to our members of Congress, so they will be aware what are the issues, especially the lack of inventory, the shortage of inventory. That's another issue. So we are protecting private property rights as well. So we are very proud of it. Mainstreet, Illinois Realtors, and National Association of Realtors.
Yeah. So let's take out your crystal balls and look into them and tell me, what do you see? How do you see the future of the real estate market? Shortage of inventory, I think, is still one of the key aspects. Is that the case?
Correct.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a key driver, supply side economics. I'm not an economist. I don't think Kinga's an economist. But
No, I am.
But you watch the same trends. You
Yes,
look at the same numbers.
right, and it's a supply demand thing. So as you mentioned, the chronic shortage of housing inventory drives up the prices, and that's one big key to affordability. And having legislative proposals, if we can urge their enactment, could create incentives to create more supply and lower that price. And that's what we're trying to do from a macroeconomic perspective. And Kinga's role as a federal political coordinator, and also when she's in the State House in Springfield, is that of translator. So she mentioned her congressman asked her, well, Kinga, what does this bill really mean from a real estate perspective? And she translate that, because those bills are written by lawyers and they can be very complicated and dense. And that's what her role in that case is, to translate. Here's what it really means for your constituents and for real estate in the housing community.
So as you see, Lucas, our role as a real estate agent expands more than just buyers and sales, right? It really expands. We do fight for the private property rights and for the rights of our sellers and future buyers as well. So it's really way beyond that.
Yeah, I'll come back to that at the end of our conversation. I want to touch on high interest rates. We all got used to 3.5%, 3.25%. Some people have their interest rates locked in at under 3%, which is amazing right now. How do you think the market will cope with the interest rates as they are right now? Do you feel that this is one of the reasons that people don't want to sell their properties and get another one at such a higher interest rates?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big factor in our market right now. And you're right, what you're describing is the sellers are frozen in with their current mortgage, which can be quite low. And they could still sell for a good price because of that supply-demand equation. It's a seller's market with more buyers than there are properties on the market. But once they sell, they need to buy somewhere else, and they're in that.
What do they do then?
Then the script gets flipped. So that's definitely an issue now. Buyers who need to buy for different reasons, job location, a change in marital status, upsizing, downsizes, family, will still do it, and they need a realtor to help them get the best possible deal as a buyer. In the future, it looks like later this year and later 2024, inflation has been coming down. And of course, what we're hoping for is that the Federal Reserve will lower rates. We think that's coming toward the end of the year. We're seeing some economic indicators that would point toward that. We're certainly hopeful of that, because that will help consumers and certainly help the real estate market.
That's true. And what John's saying, and however, a lot of buyers are afraid of high interest rates. They're still waiting for them to calm down. However, the value of homes, go up so much that it's easier to purchase now and refinance later and have that equity in your home than just wait, because rentals are very expensive too. So it's still, makes more sense to buy, refinance, not wait.
Yeah, it does, because the old saying, whether you're a renter or an owner, you're paying a mortgage.
Exactly.
It's just you're paying your mortgage to build the equity, as King is saying, for the future, to build your household wealth, or you're paying the landlord's mortgage.
Becoming a realtor is a your decision, you made those decisions decades ago, John, right? How was your real estate journey? When you look back at as your young self, was that a good decision?
Well, for me, it's been a great decision. I've
Uh-huh.
26 years in organized real estate, going on 27. When I started, I was obviously a younger man, full of dreams and enthusiasm, had a full head of hair, and it was all brown. But things change. We grow older and wiser. It was really a best decision for me. I've been more on the association management side,
Uh-huh.
but it's very rewarding to work with so many dedicated entrepreneurs like Kinga,
Yeah.
who aren't afraid to work without that safety net, to be out there and create their own destiny. And it's very, very rewarding to work with realtors in that way.
Yeah, how about you? Because you're not just an agent. You're a businesswoman, entrepreneur, motivator. You wear so many hats. How does being real estate agent treat you?
It's been very rewarding. Doing this for 23 years. I'm a licensed real estate agent for 23 years. I own the office for 8 years. And actually, real estate gave me our financial freedom. I was able to support my children, provide for my children and myself. So it's very rewarding. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. You need someone, very determined to succeed in this business. However, if you have a passion, you have the right mind, and intentions, and you can help as many people as possible, it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud of John being our CEO as well.
Awesome. So now the follow-up question that I promised before, how do you do that? Because you're not only working with your clients, you're not only managing your firm, but you also have time to lobby, to work with the legislators. Does your day have 36 hours instead of 24, Kinga?
I wish. Although I might lobby to the Congress to see if we can expand some 24 hours. That might be very helpful. It's just organization skills.
Mm-hmm.
So to make sure everything is in your calendar. So before I go to see, I'll make sure, I check my calendar to make sure what time I can wake up, what time I can go to sleep. But I love what I do, and I don't see it any other way. Especially now I have grown-up children.
Yeah.
They're out of my home. They're on their own. So I have more time. So, my close family moved out. So I have another family, which is a realtor family. And I love
Perfect.
what I do. And I know that we can make the change, especially with our legislators. And so it's really, again, have a passion and be determined and move forward. Don't say no for an answer.
John, before you became a real estate agent, you were a colleague. You graduated from the School of Journalism, and you were a newspaper journalist. Is that correct?
Yes, I was. Many years ago, back in the 80s, I was a newspaper journalist.
Mm-hmm.
and went through journalism school. I still use the same communication skills every day, writing and now talking with people. And as Kinga is a translator for our lawmakers, I try to translate sometimes complicated subjects into something that's more easily understandable and relatable for people, for the audience. But yes, thank you for asking. I still look back fondly on my journalistic roots and training, although so much has changed today with social media and YouTube. And it's good, though. These changes are good as well.
Do you still have some of the old newspaper pages with your articles on it?
I do. They're in storage. My wife won't let me clutter the condo with them, but I do have them in storage.
Awesome. Thank you so much. John, please don't be a stranger here at the Polish Daily News. Kinga, please make sure of that. And whenever there is something new to talk about and analyze the situation, we'll be super happy to talk to you again. Ladies and gentlemen, our guests today was Mr. John Gormley, CEO of Mainstreet Organization of REALTORS, and Kinga Korpacz, current treasurer and incoming president-elect of Mainstreet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.